Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea and sit back. Let's talk about what is going on in the stars this week. It is Monday, a Monday with a void of course moon that slows everything down, makes us feel a little bit lethargic, maybe, or like we can't seem to get the steam rolling. And that's just the way it goes. Some Mondays are void of course. The void of course moon began about 5:02 this morning, my time, so 8:02 for those of you on the East Coast, and it lasts all day. Not until 5:30 this evening does the moon actually make a new connection to anything, and that'll be 5:30 my time, 8:30 tonight your time if you're on the East Coast. So if today feels slow or like you're moving through molasses, there's a reason. The moon isn't doing much until much later into the evening. In fact, right now even we are left in the void of the moon's move through Virgo, which means that we may have a lot of projects, a lot of things, to-dos, right, that we got started with maybe over the weekend, especially Sunday when the moon was in Virgo all day. And they may be begging for us to finish up today, and we may find ourselves without the energy to really get it done. If it is a project that is creative in its sort of expression, then it would be a good day to finish it up. But this isn't going to be a day really to start anything new. As today, the energy just isn't there. And if we do try to force ourselves into starting something new today, we may find that it doesn't go anywhere, that it just sort of hangs around. So, void of course moon, always kind of good for maybe getting into a more meditative state, for connecting to what is really true for us. But it isn't a great day to start something new, maybe to finish some things that you had going on, but not to expend a lot of energy in creating anything new. I see a bunch of people popping up here. Let's say good morning to Linda. Dennis, good morning to you. Rebecca, good morning. Asa, good morning. Mimi, good morning. Elisa, good morning. And Michelle Gay, good morning. You were on my mind this morning, Michelle. And maybe later you can give me a call, or, if you have some free time, I want to chat with you about something. And anyway, I hope all of you had a great weekend. Before I knew it, the weekend was over. I did some gardening this weekend. I planted some beautiful petunias, primarily for the smell. I love the smell of petunias when the sun hits them. And yesterday I walked up we had been out hiking yesterday. I came home and I said to my husband, "Oh, that's why I planted those petunias." And he's like looking at me like I turned crazy. And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I can smell them. Do you smell them?" And it's amazing. I just love the smell of them. It reminds me of summer or something good. I don't know, but I just love that when the sun hits them, how they smell so good. Good morning, Laura Hammer. It's good to see you this morning. So we have an active week ahead, although this morning isn't part of that active day. Today's kind of a slower day. Do what you can in behind the scenes, maybe to finish some things up that you maybe left hanging from the weekend. Take some time for meditation, for some yoga, for some Tai Chi, or some other spiritual sort of practice that you may want to engage in today. And Asa, oh my gosh, grandson started walking yesterday. Very strong Taurus. Good for him. That is awesome. Good morning, Chanel. Natasha, good morning. Actually, here we are this morning. Everything seems to be winding up. At least the kids are getting out of school this week. I noticed on Sunday there were graduation parties going on. So some of the high schools around here must have had their graduation ceremonies maybe on Friday night or something. So June is always so interesting, isn't it? Because it's sort of the culmination of energies, but also we are moving toward the summer solstice, and the summer solstice brings us to new energy. And then for this year, of course, that's opening us to the next set of eclipses. So we have a lot of momentum building. And even though we come across a day like today where it feels just like, can I go back to bed, or can I just hang around, read a book, and do nothing? The momentum for our world is building even as we sit here and wait. We're waiting for some good things to happen. So today, let's take a look at today, and then we'll take a look at the wider energy of the week. And I want to save some time to talk about the Human Design Week and also the Pleiadian Earth energy, because we are closing out the week today for the Pleiadian energy. And that always leads us to a new beginning. And it's a pretty profound new beginning that we initiate tomorrow, and giving us another reason why today may just be a slower day, right? So we can sort of get some focus and some grounding and be able to move forward powerfully at sunrise tomorrow morning. So today the moon is in Virgo, void of course, like I said, from 5:02 a.m. Pacific to 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And then it will move out of Virgo and into Libra. And now we are also facing the first obstacles to the new moon's intentions that we set a week ago. So whatever we began new at that new moon, whether we initiated a new program, whether we had a new relationship, we're now facing the first of the physical obstacles to getting what we want. And it's not, the obstacles aren't meant to derail you or to make you upset. The obstacles are for you to get more clarity about what it is that you really wanted. Sometimes we set intentions and we're all excited about them, and then the first of the boulders gets in our way and we stop or we give up on ourselves, instead of looking at, okay, how can I get closer to what it is I really truly intended? And maybe that's a process of some inner work, but likely with this particular moon, or this particular point of the moon, it's more about, what do I have to shift in my outer world to accommodate the growth required to get to this new intention? So that's what we have kind of left over today. It began actually yesterday for those of us on the West Coast, and slowly, I think it was just after midnight that began for you all on the East Coast. So we're left kind of hanging with that today, right? With that idea of that challenge perhaps that's up in our faces, and what is it that we really want, and where are we willing to go, and what are we willing to do to get it? So that's all good stuff as well. Good morning, Colleen. Good to see you this morning. So we face those first obstacles today, and we are also left at the void of course moon with the moon trine Pluto. So the moon, of course, emotions and our soul energy, the energy of timing and cycles, and Pluto, of course, about transformation and what can I do to empower myself. I have a funny story this morning. My husband, who I swear to God, he is always the one. If there's an accident, if somebody needs something and he's out and about, he's the one, right? That is happening to be there at the right time in the right place to step in and help. Well, he was riding his bike this morning to work, and his bike is an electric bike. So if he gets tired, he can, hit the juice, right? Well, he hit the juice coming around a corner, and lo and behold, there was a horse in the road, and the horse reared up. You know how horses will do if they're startled, and it reared up and whinnied or whatever it does, neighed at him, scared the horse. And then the horse took off running down the street. And of course, he's following, and the horse stops at this one house, which he figured must be the horse's home. And he gets off his bike and starts, banging on the door for this house. No one's answering. And he goes into the garage because the garage door was open, and he's got a whistle, and he's whistling for somebody's attention, right? Finally, a neighbor was driving by and stopped and said, "Oh, she's a deep sleeper. Let me help you." So here's my husband playing cowboy this morning. But it reminded me of something. As soon as he said he had an encounter with a horse represents freedom and power. And here we have the last aspect that the moon made was with Pluto: power, empowerment. And in empowering yourself, there's freedom, right? So I thought it was an interesting thing for him. For him, maybe there's a message as well, but the message for me, of course, is always about sharing the story so that you all can connect with the story. And the story here is, where do you need more freedom in your life? Where do you need to be able to have power? Must you empower yourself? Today would be a great day to connect with that. what do you need to let go of? What do you need to have more of? What do you need to change, to be able to embrace power and freedom in your own personal life? And it's perfect for us to do this today because we're in the energy of completion as far as the Pleiadian Earth energy is concerned. And ascension is part of the completion, right? Moving up to the next level. So what are we doing? Where are we going? What's the next level? That's for us each individually to work through as we go through the day to day. So I think sometimes we get this gift of a quiet day, right? With no other big aspects or configurations happening until we get to later this evening, right? So you have all day to sort of think about that or to connect with that or to, meditate on that idea. So let's see, later this evening, once we get the moon and Pluto behind us, the moon trines Venus, and that changes the energy. So the evening is more pleasant, more likely to feel better, right? Maybe we'll have come to some conclusions or some decision points, or, have felt better about where we are. And so we end the evening, we end the day with that trine. Now, there's also something else going on today. And this is a pretty big way to start the week as well, but it's also one that may bring up some issues for some of you and when I say issues, I mean there may be something that comes up from deep within you that you need to work through, or it might be superficial even, but you've made it bigger than what it has to be, right? Some small little like pebble in the road, but in your mind, it's been built up to this big issue. And it's time for us to really look at that big issue and chop that rock down to size, right? Chop it down, make it pebbles, turn it into gravel, and then it's more manageable for you. You can move yourself around it easily or walk through it. And part of that is because today the sun is in opposition to Jupiter. And later this week, by the way, just from the standpoint of not astrology, but astronomy, Jupiter is making its closest approach to Earth for this year. I think it culminates on Wednesday, and maybe it's tomorrow, Tuesday. And so it's big and bright, right? If you look out in the night sky, you can see it. It's big and it's bright. And so the sun opposing Jupiter brings both of parts of ourselves, the spiritual and the physical, into opposition, which means that we are forced to find a way to express both, right? We're forced to merge the two in some way. And that can be difficult for some people as you're having to pare your life down to what is most important to you while releasing all of the things that are not as important to you. And some of us like to hold on to these things, right? We want to hold on for dear life because what are we without those things or without those relationships, without those activities, without, all of those thoughts? What are we doing? Who would we be? And so we have kind of this double whammy here of this emotional transformation that we're going through, as well as the opportunity to release and let go whatever isn't, to sort of shed. Animals shed their coats. We shed, right? My hair, I just asked my husband. He's always got it wound around his fingers, it seems like. We all shed. And that's what we're in the process of, that shedding, so that we can move forward with what's true, with what's authentic, and what puts us in our positive authority. But there's some scritchiness to this today, as well as while the sun is opposing Jupiter, there's also a quincunx. Remember, a quincunx is it's a very irritating sort of minor aspect. And it is a quincunx with Saturn, the South Node, and Pluto. And remember that trio that's been destroying and deconstructing who we are, what we've been doing, how we do what we do, where we go, who we do what we do with. All of those things about our lives have been under reconstruction. Before reconstruction comes destruction. So we're still in that destruction phase, and the sun may help you see the sun in a quincunx, which is a 150-degree angle. It means that if we were looking at the element of the two signs, for example, the element of the sun in Gemini is air, and the element of the Pluto-Saturn-South node triple conjunction, if you will, they're still pretty close together, are in Earth. Air and Earth are not particularly compatible. The air blows across the face of the Earth. It erodes. It has a lot of power to destroy. Right, air. It moves, and it's quixotic. It's mercurial. Right, it changes, and it stops blowing, and then it blows, and then it stops blowing, and it blows. It blows, changes directions, right? The earth is steady. It's ground beneath our feet. So you can see how those two energies are sort of mismatched. Thus, the reason why we would have the sun in an air sign kind of in a scritchy relationship to those three planets in Earth. The Earth wants, in this case, the Earth is grounding. Pluto and Saturn and South Node want us focused on what we've got to release and let go of, while the Sun in Jupiter is following lines of curiosity and ideas and themes that are new and exciting, testing the waters. What do I want to do next? So they're a bit incompatible. And that inside of us translates into a little bit of discomfort. So we may have some discomfort in moving forward. It might mean that we have to let go of something, or we might have to embrace something in ourselves that we've been really hesitant to embrace. And it's a really interesting trail if you're following it in your own life as to how this is showing up. And at the same time, there is also a semi-square with the sun to Uranus today. Remember, a semi-square is a half of a square, right? A square is a 90-degree angle, a challenge. Here, if you look at this, you can see this is a square, right? And this is for a different thing that we're going to be talking about, but that's a square. And a semi-square then is going to be half of that. So if I drew the line straight down, I can't even do that because I'm so lame when it comes to looking in the mirror. So if we drew a half line, right? But here's the sun over here, and it's saying it's semi-square Uranus, or which is up here. And there we have just a 45-degree angle between those two planets. And it's a bit of a challenge, right? We're challenged to do something. And we're challenged likely to get in alignment with our values, right? That's the challenge. So today's a bit of a challenge, but we have the quiet time to work through the challenges, right? You may have to be at work, you may have to be around other people, but you can still work through what it is that is needing to be expressed in you. So let's see what people are saying here. Good morning, Kathy Miller. Good morning, Lynn Goldberg. Good morning, Irina. She says, OMG, I'm a Sag sun plus Sag ascendant, born in the year of a horse, and freedom is the most important value for me. Yes, it is. Well, and guess what, guys? Jupiter is a planet of luck, right? And the sun is often a place where we can be lucky, right? Because it's our true personality. And when we get aligned with what's really true and authentic for us, there's a bit of luck involved. So today's kind of a lucky day, and it kind of sets the week up for more of that energy. So you can see we're sort of in that balance point. Balance, what an interesting word, right? That's going to come into play tomorrow and through the next couple of days with the moon in Libra that likes to balance. It's bringing up fairness and justice and equality and how can we harmonize, right? And it's always a little bit out of balance, right? It's like this as opposed to this, which it can get to as well, but we kind of want it to keep that smaller change in frequency. So where was I going with all of that? Okay, so yeah, the challenges then are minor, but they're sort of the juice that's driving us behind the scenes to get to where we want to go, right? To create what we want to create. And Asa, he's such a Libra. Yep, that's my husband, the Libra. And Michelle, yes, going through things, moving from small to big is fun. Big to small, not as much. Things have to go. Yes. Yay for the lucky day and lucky week. Patricia Woods, good morning. Sag Moon and Sag Midheaven. See, a lot of you out there are feeling that optimism, that Sagittarian optimism, that Jupiter in Sagittarius optimism that's still there, even though we may have to work through some challenges and some things that may not altogether feel good in the moment, but get us to where we need to be. So I totally get what you're saying, Michelle. Michelle, I get it. You're moving from big to small. Not so much fun, but it is aligning you with what comes next, right? For good or ill, it's what's happening, and you deal with that in the moment, and you're okay with that in the moment. And obviously, spirit has put you there for some reason in that position for growth, right? Positioned for growth. Now, I want to talk about something else that is going to be a drumbeat. You're going to hear me talk about this ad nauseum, probably because, it's like anything else. You guys have to really understand this. We all have to understand how this is moving through our lives. And it's important from now all the way through the end of this year and all the way just about through the year 2020, with various planets playing various roles, mostly the moon and Mars. And we know the moon is emotional. And we know Mars is confrontation, conflict, war, the god of war. There's a warrior thing going on when it's Mars, and there's a soul thing going on when it's the moon. Right now, we're in the soul thing, and we won't have to deal with Mars until next year, presumably. Although this week we're dealing with some Mars stuff. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. So, tomorrow or tonight, 5:30 my time, so 8:30 your time, the moon will move into Libra. Now, every time the moon moves in through Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, or Libra, it is going to set off those 3 planets that are in Capricorn: Pluto, Saturn, and the South Node. So let me show you this. So I've in yellow here is where the moon is going to be. And the moon in Libra, and I drew some lines in here so you could sort of see, when the moon is in Libra, it is going to square the planets over here in Capricorn, because these are the signs that sit on the angles, right? The signs that sit on the angles. And then you can also see that it will be square Cancer, and anything in Libra is going to be opposing Aries. And then Aries would be square to Capricorn and also squaring Cancer. So we have this relationship. It's a very stable relationship between these 4 signs, which then creates, when planets enter into them, it creates the energy for what may transpire, right? The activity or the actions that are going to occur. Now, when we get the moon first into Libra, it's not going to do much, right? Because it's not necessarily affecting much yet. But as it begins to move toward the 17 degrees to 22 degrees of the sign, that is when it is going to challenge those planets there: Pluto, Saturn, and the South Node. You can't see Saturn. I drew the black line through it. But this is Capricorn here. And that Capricorn energy, remember, those planets are about deconstruction, demolishing, preparing to rebuild, making the foundation stronger. And the dates this week that this happens is Wednesday, the 12th. So between tomorrow and the 12th and the 13th, those 3 days are where we're likely going to feel this the most critically. So if you're a Libra and you happen to have your sun sitting at those degrees somewhere, let me see if I can tell you what those degrees might be let me tell you the dates that those transpire to for your birthdays, if you happen to be a Libra. So let's see, 17 to 22 degrees of Libra is anywhere, if your birthday's from October 11th to October 16th. Funny, my husband's birthday is right in the middle there. And he's the one with the horse energy. So fun. Okay, so October 11th to October 17th, if your birthday is right around there, the sun is going to be affected by the moon and this challenging square. But anybody who has planets in those degree spans can be affected. If you have Cancer, and it's in those degree spans, a planet or a point, your rising sign, your midheaven, anything like that in those degrees, you're going to be affected. And so that affects, in other words, this is like a large group of people being affected by this, because likely some of you, almost all of you, I bet if I pulled your charts, I would see this degree span being affected for the next couple of days, 2 days at least, 11th and 12th. For sure the 12th, maybe waning into the 13th. So be prepared, be awake, be aware. What is changing? What is opening up for you? What are the emotions that you're feeling around releasing the old ways of being? What is it joy? Is it freedom? Freedom is that hallmark word for this week, right? We got that already with the horse and with that horse energy and with Jupiter opposing the sun, or sun opposing Jupiter. We've got freedom on the brain. So what makes us more free? Right? What makes us more free? But some of you who are experiencing the square, it's a challenge. You may have to overcome some emotional challenge to this, some feeling about it, some mood around this. Maybe it's a fear, maybe it's a sadness, or a little bit of a grief around leaving something behind. And on the other hand, maybe it's excitement, right? It could be excitement, it could be joy, it could be optimistic. So we have this like bandwidth of expression in the energies, and it may be different experiences for every one of you. But don't get too caught up in the feeling of it. Just get caught up in the, what is it telling you about what's happening? What's it telling you about what's happening? That's the point. Now, so going back to our little thing here, anytime then, so after the moon leaves Libra, it's going to head through Scorpio and then Sag, and then it will be in Capricorn, and it will conjunct these planets. So we'll have another level of that waking us up. Then a few signs later, it'll be in Aries, will be in opposition to Libra, and also again squaring the planets in Capricorn and squaring the planets over here in Cancer. So, and then when we get the moon into Cancer, it's going to be opposing those planets in Capricorn and squaring anything going on in Libra and Aries. So this on and on, right? Well, guess who else is in Cancer right now? Remember, we have Mercury in Cancer, we have Mars in Cancer, we have the North Node in Cancer. If the South Node is in Capricorn, the North Node is in Cancer, opposing it. So we have a trio of planets in Cancer as well, and they're spread a little bit further apart, although Mars is at 16 degrees. And so what we also see this week is Mars in an opposition to the South Node, to Saturn, and to Pluto. Mars is confrontation. Remember, he was sitting at the gate of provocation last week. Is he still sitting there? I think until later this week, right? So we have provocation going on. Mercury is going to join him in provocation and provoking. So we have a week of things being kind of little pins, push pins, tacks pushed into us, goading us forward, goading us on to make some moves. But it is also opposing those planets in Capricorn. Cancer is opposing Capricorn. Does anybody have any questions about any of this? Have I confused anybody? Are you able to picture this? You know, I'm just going to make a great suggestion here, is that each of you coming to the show live, or each of you listening to the show later, because a lot of you do. I know a lot of you listen to it on Blog Talk Radio later, or download the YouTube video and watch it later. Have your charts in front of you when we talk about it, because it's going to be the only way that you're, visually connecting with what's going on for you and what is happening in, the general atmosphere of the astrology, is how you're going to learn what is going on and how this affects you, because it's going to affect everybody differently. So I would, if I were you, have your gene keys, because we're probably going to talk about that. Have your, hologenetic profile. If you don't know what that is, let me know. And your human design chart and your astrology chart, right? Have all three with you when we have these discussions, so that you can learn more about you, right? You're decoding yourself. You're hacking, if you will. If you're a younger person out there listening, you'll know what I mean. You're learning the hacks to understanding yourself, right? That's what you're doing here. Okay, so good morning, Diana. Irina says, my midheaven is at 13 degrees of Libra. So the moon will hit that. So you're likely probably going to experience things going on in your career, motivating you to change whatever it is that you're doing, how you claim your authority in the world, etc. And Asa, you're a Libra at 17 degrees. There you go. You're right in the mix of all of this. Change is up for you, girl. And let's see what else. I think that's it. Anyway, so questions, comments, please feel free to put those in there. Let's see. So it is Thursday where Mars will also come into a trine with Neptune. So here we have a lot going on with Neptune. It's more quiet. It's not like Mars and yelling at us. It's not like Saturn and demanding of us. It's more quiet and harder to pinpoint, but there's a lot of spiritual energy through Neptune that is occurring in our charts or in our lives at the moment. And a lot of that has to do with creating or embracing or expanding a spiritual practice. Remember, there's the Jupiter square Neptune going on behind the scenes, which activates later this month again. There's also the Saturn sextile Neptune that is making spirit our foundation, right? So the foundation has to be spiritual as well as physical, right? And then we build from that position, and then we become more whole and more holistic and more complete, right? We're following our truth. So Mars trining Neptune is going to be a call for us to do that and embrace more and more of that. It will be maybe striking ahas that you have. It could be intuitive, information. It could be dreams. It could be all kinds of things that pop up as we move into Thursday in the week. Friday, Mars then opposes Saturn in its exact position, even though right now it's already there. It's like 1 degree. Remember, we talked a few weeks back, so maybe God, time flies, it could have been 2 months ago for all I remember now. We talked about how planets apply pressure to a conjunction or to a square or whatever, and they apply and then they're exact and then they wane. So you have this like period of time through which these things are happening. It's not just one moment in time. It is usually happening between the applying and the conjunction or the exact, and then you're dealing with the fallout or whatever has to be, batting cleanup, if you will, as it separates, right? So we have time periods this whole week where these Mars trines and oppositions are occurring. And even now, we might be feeling, right, the drumbeat as it's getting stronger. So don't be surprised if it doesn't happen on Thursday, and if it doesn't happen necessarily on Friday, if it happens before, or even if it happens later, because it's all dependent on what your chart looks like, where things are in your chart. And so then on Sunday is going to be a pretty busy day this week. This weekend, it was the moon that was jump jacking everywhere around and creating the energy and the action. This coming Sunday, it's Mercury trine Neptune, Mercury opposing Saturn, Jupiter squaring Neptune. Then the moon is also conjuncting Neptune while Jupiter is squaring Neptune. So Sunday is likely going to be a busy day. Likely going to be a day where a lot is happening both inside of you and also maybe in your outer world. So all in all, it's not that this is a bad week, because I think it's really kind of an exciting week. I think it's a week of a lot of activity. I think it's a week where we have a lot that we can move through, right? Whether it's on a personal level, whether it's in our community level, whether it's in our work level, whatever it is, there's a lot of potential, I think, for movement in this week. Just not today, maybe. Maybe today's more of the day to gather your wits about you so that you can get through the rest of the week. Now, Diana, I know you're asking me a question about Cancer and Capricorn and how does it affect me. I can't tell you that, sweetheart, without really seeing your chart. This show is about you learning about how to do this for yourself. Right? If you want a reading, certainly I stand by waiting for you to, ask me for that. And then we can do that for you, right? And take a look personally at what's going on in your chart. But no, right now, there's a lot of energy going on across that axis for everybody, not just for you, but everybody. And that axis is really about career and profession and authority in the world versus family and tradition and what makes me what forms the roots or the foundation beneath my feet. Cancer more nurturing, and Capricorn more businesslike or corporate minded. So what we find is that we are destroying, letting go, breaking down some of these firm structures and forms and governments and institutions and our sacred cows in favor of moving more toward the Cancer side of things, and that's more about what nurtures me, what nurtures us as people, what brings us together versus what pulls us apart. Right. The Capricorn side of things has had us uber focused on greed, right? If we look at the more negative frequencies coming through there's greed, there's ruthlessness, there's corporatocracy, there's plutocracy, there's this feeling that, we have no real power. And we're having to let that go in favor of moving over to the Cancer side of things, which is more protective and more nurturing and more values oriented, where the values are the common core things that bring us together. So that's been our focus since the eclipses began across this axis back last summer. And of course, bringing it more into focus as we move into July, where these eclipses again take up residence across that axis. So we're building up energy here. We're building up to be more and more in alignment with the nurturing side of things. What nurtures us, what supports us, what takes us into a healthy future versus what's not sustainable and what's needing to be destroyed in favor of something that's longer lasting, right? Makes sense, right? So that's the backbone, by the way, of everything that I can tell you about what's going on in Cancer and Capricorn right now. All right, so human design this week. Let's take a quick peek at that, and then we'll get into the Pleiadian. What time do I have? 8:36. So the human design week, the sun is at gate 45. Let me show you the chart, by the way. Today we're all reflectors again. Interesting to me how many days that I've been pulling a chart, and it has been a chart of a reflector. So this is just an off-the-cuff sort of remark. So it's sort of in the field. Everybody's sort of aware that this is happening, that there are fewer manifestors being born into the world and more reflectors being born into the world. And boy, am I seeing it. I'm seeing it because it seems like at least, I don't know how many times it's been where I bring out a chart and I show it to you, and it's the chart day of a reflector. And that's been a lot lately. And that means kids, everybody born that day becomes reflectors. And so they come into power, 20 to 30 years from now, or even a little bit longer. And we have reflectors then picking up the mantle of where this world is going to be. Not that there aren't going to be manifestors, not that there won't be generators and manifesting generators and projectors, but it's interesting to me to see the reflecting or the reflections of the reflectors making more of an inroad into being here on the planet. Maybe they're all going to show us the truth of who we are, right? And what's really happening. So anyway, as we have today, the gate 45, the sun is sitting right here. It is on the throat center. The throat center, think of it as the sharing box, right? It's the sharing place. It's where we share our voice, we share our thoughts, we share our ideas. It's where everything from the mind that we know comes down to meet it, and everything that we feel in the body comes up to greet it. So, and then it gets out there to the world. It gets shared. It gets spoken. Okay. Now, 45 itself is a financial gate. So we have, it's also, what did I write here? I wrote the voice of community. I like that this becomes, or the higher potential is this, that it becomes the voice of community, allocating our resources, our time, our money, our whatever constitutes energy, to a cause or to a community or to the sustaining of a community. And then the earth is at gate 26 over here on the ego center, which is, I want you guys to think of as the desire center, right? This is where we are allocating our resources. This is the center for allocating and managing our resources based on what we desire. So we have the gate 26, which is also called, in some cases, the gate of accumulation. I noticed that in the I Ching, it's called the gate, or in I Ching, it's called accumulation. But it's about harnessing willpower, because it's on the will center, harnessing willpower and moving it toward whatever it is that your great works is, whatever it is for you personally. And I'm going to say, put in parentheses, your right work, right? Because your great work and your right work should be the same, right? Not that you're spending 90% of your time doing the things you don't want to do, because in this center, we have to be doing what we really love in order to receive the substantial rewards that we're after, right? We all want to be heard, valued, recognized. And loved. Love is probably the prime motivator, to be loved and to love, right? And when we use the energies in these two gates, we see reward. There's that luck again, right? Being in the right place, right time, right people, to download what we know, to share what we know, to share our resources, and then the feeling of reward that comes back at us from being able to do that, to be heard, right? In order to receive those rewards, you actually have to do what is your right work. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Why do I think what is happening, Asa? I got lost here. Kathy Miller packing on Sunday for the reunion. Yay. I wish I could be there with you. I just have too many other things going on. So Asa, I just need to know, what you wrote, why do you think that is happening? I don't know what you mean by that, because I've moved on in my head. Is there a particular gate that shows us our life works? There's a particular combination of gates. And that's a whole nother story, I could go on for hours with that. And literally, I had sort of an eye-opening, jaw-dropping Saturday as I read an entire book on Saturday morning from about 7. What time did I get up on Saturday? 5:30 in the morning. But I think I picked up this book at 5:30, 6:00, and by 1:00 I was done reading it, and it was amazing. And it has given me some really keen insight into human design that isn't really human design at all, but it is human design in a way. So it's about how these energy centers in our bodies, and remember those two lines of numbers, right? The red lines, which are called the design, and the black lines, which are called personality. What do they really represent for you? Well, the black numbers on the right side, in the personality side, all represent what's going on here in the mind. While the other side, the red side, which we've always talked about as your life purpose, is your body, right? So your mind knows what it's here to do, while the body is discovering it as well. And they're not always the same thing. So using your mind to help you discover what the body's here to do. So if you look at that as your incarnation cross, which is the sun and earth on the personality side, and the sun and earth on the design side. So I don't have a regular human design chart here in front of me. Oh, yes, I do. Is this good? This is mine, so I don't mind sharing it. So you see these two lines of numbers, right? These two lines of numbers here. Well, this line then is the soul purpose. It is also the mind. And these two, 12 and 11, become the mind's work based on what your soul at the moment of conception decided was going to be the work that you're going to do. The other two, the 25 and the 46 in this case, in my chart, are the ones that I would discover through my life purpose. They're the ones that I would discover with my body, as my body goes out into the world and begins to explore what is going on. So all of this column and these planets are the things that you discover, that are where your body moves, and this one is the mind. This one pops up from the design crystal at the 3 months point before you were born, right? 88 astrological degrees before you were born is the point that we say the soul joined the body, but it's really where the design crystal, if you will, is set, and it becomes your life purpose. Deep, right? And this is why, which book was that? Oh God, it was called The God Code. And what was there was a subtitle written by Steve Rhodes. Rhodes, first name Steve, Steve, not with the PH. And I don't even know how I came across it. Oh, I do know. I was reading through Rosie Aronson's book, and you might remember Rosie Aronson is the one she was on the show with me one morning. We talked about the wisdom of the 64 faces, the card deck that she put together based in human design. And I was fascinated by the way that I'm just truly fascinated by how she weaves together human design and the gene keys. So she doesn't necessarily weave together the astrology part. That's where I'm different. I weave together the three of those. But she kept talking about this guy named Steve Rhodes. And I was like, who in the hell is Steve Rhodes? So I Googled him. And once I Googled him, I realized I've read his work before. I already had a book sitting on my Kindle that he had written from earlier. I hadn't, not the God Code one. It was another one, and I forgot what it was called, but I'd read it already. And this took his work deeper. And his belief is human design is missing the mark in some respects. He's looking at human design. He's truly looking at it more energetically than mechanical. And I already have recognized that true human design, or what became true human design, was missing something. It was missing it had the logic, but it didn't have the feeling as much to it. This is defying words, what I'm trying to express. So I already knew that this was happening because when I do readings for people, I'm looking much deeper into, rather than exactly like, what gate 45 says in human design is it's a financial gate and it's all about money. It's all about spending money. But no, it can't be that. It can't be just that, because there's something deeper going on through each of these gates. And then it means something different for each person based on its setup in your chart. Is it open? Is it defined? Is it defined by the design or personality? Are there two different planets sitting there? It's different for everybody. We all have it, but there had to be something more. And of course, I'm always looking for the deeper part. That's the thing about me. It's like you never get just the superficial. You always get the deeper, because it's like, okay, it can't just be that. It just can't be that. It has to have something more. Pull a card for the week. We already know the animal of the week is going to be the horse. There's just no way around that one. We're all dealing with power and freedom this week. So now let's see what we're dealing with the card. And I want to remind everybody, the summit, the Change Your Mind, Change Your Life summit, begins tomorrow. My point is Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. my time. And that will be on, you could go to the changeyourmind.us website and you can see how to get involved with that. Two cards fell out. Two nice blue cards. One is Imagine over here. Imagine is card number 20. And then over here, No Place Like Home is card number 50. And isn't that beautiful? And they both popped out right side up. So let's take a look at what those cards mean for us. So card 20, Imagine. The essential meaning is turning imagination into manifestation, creative thought, visualization, the power of aligning imagery and feelings, creativity, and illusions. So this is perfect. Who do you want to be? What do you need to believe in order to have the life you want? What do you need to believe in? What do you need to believe in order to have the life you want? You were gifted with the power to imagine. If you can dream it, you can create it. This is the time when your imagination is the key to manifesting the life you desire. Spend time daydreaming, fashioning a vision board to help you see your goals, or meditating. Allow the power of your creativity to deliver messages of what feeds your soul. Then allow your feelings to mingle with your inspirations and imagine these things are being real right now. Then repeat. What you imagine will become your belief, and soon you will see these things come to pass in the outer world as if by magic. I love it. Now that was the card Imagine, and gate 50. Card 50 is No Place Like Home. It is also active this week, and it is about authenticity. Coming home to yourself, feeling at home, arriving at a place where you just fit, in quotes, being comfortable in your own skin. Home feels safe and secure. It's a comfortable place to rest and create, a place that is known and you can call yours. This card signals that your ability to trust yourself and feel at home in your own skin is beginning to solidify as you claim your dignity and integrity, aspects of yourself no one can take away from you. You know who you are. You hold your head high, yet with neither pride nor humility. Instead, you stand as the observer. That's interesting. Seeing through the eyes of your soul. This puts you in a position of power and strength. Authenticity is your home. You are safe here in the house of your spirit and capital S spirit. Great. Great cards for the week. Goes right along. I love it when the cards kind of match what it is that we've been talking about all morning. And I'm sorry the broadcast was breaking up. I'll have to check with Facebook and Be Live and see what's going on because I know it's not my internet. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. I'm looking forward to a busy week, a great week. I will see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. right here and 11 a.m. East Coast time. All right, take care, everybody. Bye for now.